Welcome back. Now, the 7 opposition political parties at the Multiparty National Convention taking place in Kempton Park have agreed to call the pact that comes out of their deliberations the Multiparty Charter for South Africa. Now, this was announced by the facilitator of the two-day talk, William Gumede. Now, the 7 political parties have converged to craft a pre-election plan with the aim of forming an alternative government to the ANC following next year's election. So, for some analysis on the Multiparty National Convention, we're joined virtually by a political analyst, Levy Ndou. Dr. Ndou, thanks so much for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning to you, Sakina. Good morning to the viewers at home. Thank you for having me.
So first off, let me just get a sense from you of what you make of this multi-party convention and, of course, the charter that they are hoping to craft.
Clearly, as announced earlier, before they could even meet, these are organizations that are saying that it's enough for the governance of the ANC, and they want to come together to ensure that come 2024, we do not have the ANC-led government. They are brought together, as explained by the leader of the DA, Steenhuisen, by the passion to ensure that the ANC is out of power, and also at the same time acknowledging that individual political parties in South Africa, they cannot be able to remove the ANC out of power, and the best strategy is for them to come together as a group and ensure that they bring all the different minds so that they are able to dethrone or remove the ANC from power.
So speaking of which, does this concept of this multi-party convention or a coalition of unseating the ANC, do you think it has any chance of actually succeeding?
Firstly, there is nothing wrong in what they're doing or illegal. This is just another strategy or way to ensure that they also get access to power. What therefore could be challenges is that when we've got different politicians from different political parties, obviously they bring different views and they come from different backgrounds. What would be best would be to ensure that they are able to work together and achieve their strategy. But what I've actually looked at the agreements that they've made, firstly, is the step in the right direction, that they were able to sit and agree and finish whatever they wanted to discuss on the first day. That could be a positive on their side. But the biggest challenge would be, how do they keep the momentum together, and how do they then able to move on a daily basis, ensuring that they are constantly intact and keep the cohesion of the charter together?
What about their individual constituencies and, of course, their varying ideological positions, Dr. Ndou? Does that matter?
It should matter. What becomes my concern is the level of consultation by leaders that are attending this convention, or rather the charter. Because you can be able to agree on joining onto this pact whilst as a leader you have not thoroughly consulted with your members or with your constituency. And that is a potential to bring a backlash on the part of your supporters and leaders. At the same time, we are getting people that have been there in politics for quite some time. And what I see in the main, in the principles, in the vision, are mainly the same things that are actually being heard, which appears in the different paper positions of different political parties. My sense is that they should therefore be able to develop a much bigger strategy in terms of how they take this message out to the people, so that the people can now start to associate themselves with the charter.
And then, of course, there's just that little matter of who ultimately gets to lead then from all of these leaders. And from what we've heard and seen before this, it would seem as though there isn't consensus on that. How likely are they to get to that point, given that some strong views had already been expressed?
In my view, the Democratic Alliance has done its part in terms of articulation this idea to the public. It was done when Steenhuisen was re-elected as the leader of the Democratic Alliance. He spoke about bringing parties together, and parties have actually come together. What would therefore become a mountain to climb would be on the leadership of the Charter and who is going to be the face of the Charter. Politicians in their own nature would love to be dominant. They would not love to be seen as followers because they believe that they are actual leaders. And that is where I think challenges are now going to start appearing. At the same time, you need to have someone who's constantly visible, who will be talking on behalf of the Charter. And if you get someone who has not been very influential and dominant in political parties, it might have its negative implications. If you also have a prominent member from another political party, other parties might feel that their dominance is being isolated and their influence might be seen to be minimal in the Charter. If you put Herman Mashaba and Steenhuisen and Mr. Hlabisa in the same room, these are leaders in their own right, and they would love to see themselves being dominant. And I don't expect that followers of their political parties will all be very excited when they see that their leaders have actually been relegated to just ordinary members of the Charter. That might have negative implications, and it will require those that are in the Charter to find better ways to manage that.
Which is a very interesting point, because all of this could very well come to naught if they cannot, for example, cross that particular hurdle. Or would that not be the case, the way you see it, Dr. Ndou?
You also need to look at what political parties are bringing on the table. For me, it is not about the Charter. It is about these political parties attaining what they intend doing. That is winning the 2024 elections. And someone who is coming onto the table must be able to say, these are the numbers that I'm bringing on the table, and I should also have a central role to play based on what I'm bringing. Whether you bring the best ideas on the table, in this instance, it won't matter, because John Steenhuisen then constantly talk about percentage. And because we are heading towards elections, it should be numbers and numbers only. And if you are bringing nothing on the table, unfortunately, you might end up being relegated onto the benches because there is nothing to show that you are bringing on the table as a political party.
Well, we have to leave it there. Of course, day 2 of that Charter taking place today. But thanks so much, Dr. Levy Ndou, political analyst, speaking to us about the Multiparty National Convention, currently underway in Kempton Park, east of Johannesburg. And today is the second and final day of this convention. And SABC News will keep you up to speed. At 6:30, let's take a look at our headlines.